A. Oh man. Okay. So I am going to just start making a bunch of notes and just putting my brain out onto this piece of paper here. But that's what I want to do. And I apologize in advance for most likely what will be a shoddy quality stream. I don't think I have any tags in here or nothing. So anyways, I want to develop a dice system for tabletop role-playing games that is going to give a little bit more agency to both. It really is more combat focused as far as the system. I really don't need to reinvent anything that has already been done. But I think that I have an idea for a system that is going to allow both the game master and the player to always be interacting and rolling dice together. I find that combat a lot of times now is, you have your stats and you narrate your action and then you roll for it and everything's great. And then, on the other side, the GM will narrate the action of the villain or whatever and roll for it. And a lot of times in combat, they roll for it. You're just kind of hoping that you don't get hit. You're just kind of sitting there while it happens to you. So I thought of a system that perhaps, while you're able to roll to defend yourself, and you're able to just have a little bit more involvement, I suppose, rather than just rolling the d20, doing math, and then hoping. Now, obviously, nothing against D&D or any d20 system. That's what got me into gaming, so I'm not really shitting on that. Oh, I cursed. Now I can't mark it for kids. Damn. No, just kidding. So anyways, I'm not necessarily shitting on the D20 system, but I am saying that a lot of times when you're doing, when you're in combat or something like that, it can be a little boring. It can slog down, especially if you have a lot of players, right? If you have a lot of players, it's just you and one person, which, this system doesn't really involve a lot of other people. It can, though. And I'm still developing the system and stuff like that, so I'm really looking forward to making a little bit more progress. Right now, what I'm really working on is a, call it, RPG system with dice. Yeah. So right now, what I'm working on is I have the system sort of on paper, and it's coming around. And the weird thing is I don't want to share too much about it online, but A, 0 people are gonna watch this, so why not? But B, proprietary information, if you will. So, anyways, I play a lot of RPGs and junk. So one thing that I like to do is watch YouTube of other people that play RPGs and junk. And what I found is, I would really like to do YouTube videos like how a lot of people are doing YouTube videos. I don't think I have it in me to do what's necessary to, you know what I mean, to make it as a YouTuber. I don't think I have it in me. I just don't. I don't have that sort of personality, I don't think. I don't have it in me to make that clickbaity sort of thing. Like if I just go to YouTube D&D, right? D&D, here we go. Here we go. This is what my YouTube shows me when I type in D&D. So, Jaden Animations, first time playing Dungeons&Dragons. See, he animated it, so that's a good video. That's not a what the this is. That's confusing. And then there's this, you know what I mean? Like, can Matt Mercer recover from this? Yeah, he'll be fine. Don't worry about it. D&D's oldest secret finally exposed. Who is it? It's not Mike Tyson. You know, compilation D&D skits. Those are funny. So I feel like there's difference. There's creators who make things like these guys, Viva La Dirt League. And then I feel like there's people who just like that's what you decided to do today, okay? Like me doing this right now. It is what it is, I suppose. There's not as many people that I thought there would be on there. So like, yeah, okay, the DM layer, he's been doing videos for a long time. I watch a lot of his stuff. And when I started getting into D&D, that's what I went. I went to YouTube and I went to how do you be the best dungeon master you can be, right? How do you be a good DM? How do you play D&D the right way? How do you win? How do you win D&D? And Taproot Poem. That's a song, man. I listened to it like 2 days ago, and I was like, "Whew, boy, that didn't age that great." But I loved that song. Anyways, you know, I went to YouTube. I started looking at all these people and that's where I found a lot of folks that like WASD 20, I think his name was. I think he was doing it, and this was like 7-8 years ago. I just remember that guy specifically, and he was talking about being a DM and different things to do. And over the years of scouring the internet in search of the right way to Dungeon Master, I have really found that it all comes down to one thing: playing pretend. And that's truthfully all it is. There's a million ways to play pretend. There's a lot of good ways to play pretend. There's a lot of bad ways to play pretend. And that's really all playing Dungeons and Dragons is. Pretend. Now, sure, it's a collaborative story experiment, essentially. You're all engaged with the same narrative, and you're all acting out and contributing to it. And it's wonderful. And I've been playing for like 8 years, 7 years now. And it's been great. I've always wanted to play D&D. So, quick story. Back when 3.5 was out, I think it might have been newer. This was a while ago. I didn't have the money to buy the books, but I found the PDF for free. So I decided to try and print it on my dad's at-home printer back then. I'm going to say I was... So probably like 16 years ago or something like that. So yeah, I tried printing out the whole 3.5 player's handbook at home. Little did I know that we didn't even have the Dungeon Master's guide for 3.5, so we wouldn't have known what the hell we were doing anyways. We went to this GameStop and we bought these little pewter minis that we didn't know how to paint, or it was a mess. But that was 17 years ago. And then I didn't play at all. And I've always wanted to. I've always been into RPGs and nerdy stuff and stuff like that. Got into Neverwinter Nights as a young person, and my cousin played a lot of JRPGs and stuff. So it's always been a thing. And then, yeah, I hate to say it, but honestly, I was one of those Stranger Things people. Stranger Things came out, and they were playing the Dungeons and Dragons, and I was just like, I knew that's what it was. And then when you watch E.T. and then that scene in the kitchen when they're talking about the dad like went to somewhere else, and then you kind of, as an adult, you watch E.T., you're like, oh, the dad left the family and he's with some other lady and it's all sad and she's got 3 kids. But anyways, different scene. The older brother is at the table. He's playing Dungeons and Dragons with his friends and stuff. And when you realize, like, oh, yeah. So I don't think I've made a point in the last 5 minutes of me rambling here. So scouring the internet, trying to search for the best way to Dungeon Master. Basically, it's playing pretend. And yes, there's a million ways to do it. There's a lot of people who wrote books on how to tell the right story, and there's other people who like they literally they go into it like they got a 6-year degree and then have to defend a thesis at the end of the day on how to best tell the story and how to best create a Dungeons and Dragons adventure, and and they're all right. None of them are wrong. It's just whatever you're into. You know what I mean? My thing specifically is just playing pretend. And being able to do that with other people at the table is difficult to do in and of itself, unless you're all on the same page. And then that's where, when you're playing with folks, just kind of starting with that whole thing like, hey, we're just going to play pretend for a little bit. I'm not going to judge you for playing pretend. You're not going to judge me for playing pretend. We're just going to be here playing pretend. Grown-ass adults sitting around a Tonka truck doing construction type shit. You know what I mean? That's all it is. That's all it is. So when you throw in rules and different things like that and different themes, then obviously it helps you collectively build that narrative. You introduce the character creation class, which gives you certain parameters and limitations to play by these certain rules in this game. And you know, every game that has rules is every game that doesn't have rules is kind of hard to play, and it's certainly hard to play for everybody because everybody's interpretation of reality is different, right? So the rules are important when you're coming up with a tabletop RPG, and playing pretend is important. The rules, however, when I'm playing current, like Dungeons and Dragons, or I've played Pathfinder in the past, and Neverwinter Nights had the 3.5 system and stuff like that, which was great, but that was a video game, a little bit different. I noticed that when you're in combat on a tabletop game, or online, or whatever, you are often just, you narrate, roll, DM narrates, he rolls, he, they, she, rolls, other player is doing the same thing, another player, next player, next player. Everybody has 5-6 people in your group, 4 if you're lucky. And it just it can slog on and stuff like that. And I felt like, you know, it would be cool to have a system, a set of rules for playing pretend, that allowed the player and the GM to constantly be rolling dice at each other in some sort of, you know, like combat sort of engagement or something like that. Now obviously the narrative engagements and the narrative stuff like that, I mean, like I said, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. There's 100 different ways to, and 100 different systems already out there, that are perfect for just narration around the table and offer skills and mechanics and stuff like that to sway one way or another, which makes sense. But I enjoy the combat aspect of D&D and role-playing games and stuff like that. So I felt that coming up with a system that you're actually versing this person via the dice could be a little bit more exciting. So that's where I'm going with it. That's my whole intention of doing this, is just creating what I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I do have an idea. So I have a lot of it already on paper, but I don't want to share too much of it because I don't really know how that shit works, right? So anyways, yeah, wow. Woof. I have been talking for a long time now. That's okay. So PG systems. What do I want to call it? What do I want to say this? All right, cool. That's what's up. So, yeah, just talked a lot about RPGs and how to play pretend and stuff like that. What goes into having a good experience when playing a tabletop role-playing game? It's important that everybody's on the same page playing pretend, essentially, and it's a lot easier when the people playing, the players specifically, have a narrative goal to strive toward. A lot of people like to, like these adventures and stuff like that. D&D adventures that come out are so stupid long. They're so intertwined and intertangled, and it's so obvious that 10 people were needed to write the whole thing, and you don't know who started where and who ended what. So obviously, talk about it. The biggest new thing out right now is DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics. Currently in a game right now. A friend of mine has been running DCC for a while now. I don't know if a year maybe, if that. But he's all up in the Kickstarters and the pre-orders and stuff like that. He loves it, and he talks about it all the time. What he talks about is he likes how the adventures are plug and play. Essentially, no matter what you're doing, you can pick up the adventure. You can read it. How's that look? That looks all right. Whatever. You can read. Oh yeah, I didn't transition. You can read it, and within a couple minutes, pretty much understand exactly what you're doing, where you're going with it. And I would really like to go on that sort of method as well. Now you can build a longer narrative campaign with things like this, but having these separate adventures and stuff like that just always keeps the story going. And always keeps these people. Now with DCC, obviously the character creation is a little bit different. You are, I mean, shit. What, you create 4 people, and then maybe if any of them survive, you'll bring those on to the next dungeon and keep going like that. And then maybe you'll have one person that levels up and is actually like a RPG hero feeling kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if DCC is for me specifically, like for my kind of thing. I know that they have very few skills and stuff, and they have different weird dice, and I get their point behind that. Why have modifiers, just have the dice. Sure, I guess. And that definitely streamlines it a little bit easier for people who maybe just want to get into tabletop RPGs, just want to experience what the hell a dungeon crawl is through a table with folks and stuff on a Saturday night. I think DCC is a good system to introduce people to, if you have the dice or access to the crawler, which is really cool. But for my system, it's all going to be just a D6 system. Each player will need only up to 5 5 specifically dice, 6-sided dice. When they have that, jeez, it's bright. 6-sided dice, that's all it is. There's going to be several attributes, I think 5 of them, and each attribute will get up to 5 points in it. It's not going to be it's not like level 1 to 20 kind of thing. You're not going to be super powered kind of thing. But there will be mechanics and stuff in there that allow to. So essentially, what it's going to be is me rolling an attack against the GM. The GM will use the game mechanics and the monster or creature or villain, whatever, and it will roll against me. And then there's going to be a rule set where either my attack succeeds or my attack doesn't succeed. And I'm still kind of working out those kinks right now. I think I have a really good solid foundation for how it can work. It just needs a few more tweakings before I can move on to the next thing that's going to take forever. And this isn't going to be a thing that's done overnight. Unfortunately, I'm a millennial. I'm impatient. So I want it now. But I'm working on it, and it's inspiring to me. And it turns out there's a lot of other people in the world making their own systems and stuff like that. And what I found is I don't have to create everything from scratch. And I won't. I'm going to, and this is cool because it is encouraging me and almost forcing me to get outside of my normal comfort zone of just D&D or Pathfinder sort of stuff like that, because I kind of have been limited to like Wizards of the Coast and Paizo stuff, and I know that there's so much more. There's so much more out there, content, and then there's indie creators and stuff like that, and authors that make their own adventures, their own books, and things. I've always been kind of a coward that way, you know. I'll say it. I'll admit it. The unknown frightens me, and D&D. You know, I've been growing up. Like my dad played the first Final Fantasy when I was like 8 years old, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like 6 years old, I was watching him play Final Fantasy, and obviously Final Fantasy took a lot of inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that because it was popular in the West and it was cool. It was freaking fantasy cool, right? So, uh, yeah, where the hell was I going with that? I've always been into the fantasy stuff, so this makes sense. To where was I? Not reinvent. Wow, I'm gonna rewatch this and I'm gonna go, why did I stream that? That's why people record videos so that they can edit out parts like this. But hey, that's okay. I like the tropes. I like the familiar tropes of D&D, and because that's what I grew up with. That's where I was going with it. That's what I grew up with, so that's where I'm going with it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't think I intend on, like I said, reinventing the wheel or creating a million different things of my own. But if I am doing this system that I want to do, I am going to have to sort of redesign how melee combat works, how ranged combat works, how magic works entirely, because it's not going to be a D20 system, and it's not going to be a normal D6 system like where you roll 1, 2, 3 is a fail, 4, 5, 6 is a pass. Um, that's going to be probably the rules for like the skill checks and stuff like that, just to make that easy and streamline it. And again, however many points you have in that attribute will be the number of dice you get to roll for that action, sort of thing. So it's coming together. There are some bones to it, and a lot of the stuff that needs to kind of move forward is just testing it and then creating either classes that go with it or backgrounds specifically that go with it, or a friend of mine that I'm talking to about all this, he suggested maybe not doing classes at all, just doing a classless system, which is cool and all, but then you have to sit there and you have to, like Savage Worlds, you have to build an entire book of just feats and jobs and things your character can do, which is fine. I just feel like if you do have a class system, you can limit it a little bit more, and you can more easily define and streamline the things, which just makes it easier on the new player, obviously. And that's kind of the intention, is to have simple classes just for the new player, and then have the option to really stat your character however you want, but there's going to be different things where different items, abilities, magical effects, magic spells, stuff like that is all going to require you to have minimum attribute scores. So if you build a sword and board fighter kind of thing, you're going to suck at magic. So yeah, there's going to be ways to kind of work around it and see what works, and what doesn't. It's going to take a long time, a really long time, to figure it out. But that's okay. I'm really excited about doing it, and yeah, that's pretty much my thing. What I want to do with my game, with my system. Yeah, that's about it. Well, now that I have that out of the way, and this is a 29-minute long video, I think what I want to do is do what everyone else does. I've been watching Critical Role for like 7 years, 8 years now. I think this is their 9th year. So I've been watching them, I think, for 8.5 years. Um, it's crazy. Crazy, but and all the different things that they've done and stuff like that. There is something objectively different with this season, this campaign. I don't know what it is, but there is something. And I know I'm not alone. But, a lot of people said that they didn't like the second campaign when it came out and stuff like that. But that's just because they were comparing it to Vox Machina and stuff like that. And when the third campaign came out, it was weird. Yes, a lot of people were comparing it to the Mighty Nine. And if that's what they were introduced to, they had 100 and some fucking too many episodes, to really love the Mighty Nine and get into them and stuff like that. So, anyways, what the hell? What the hell? What are they doing? What are they doing? Spoiler alert. Ugh, what are they doing? So, what I wanted to do maybe is check out some RPG horror stories. And I have not read any of these yet, so let's see what happens. I'll go by how long they are, you know what I mean? Backseat DM chases me off on session 0 within 5 minutes. Alright. So of all places, this story starts on a Minecraft server looking for a group post. I have the D&D add-on, which I've wanted to play for a while, and this post was looking for D&D players. Perfect, right? Turns out they meant, but really didn't specify, actually play D&D. Even better. I joined the party and immediately this guy, who isn't the host, is arguing with someone else about why they would think the post on Minecraft's multiplayer page would be for an actual Minecraft game. I say, it actually says #myworld, which doesn't make any sense unless we were actually going to be joining a world. I don't know where I'm going with all this shit. I ask what the deal is if we're not playing Minecraft, and the not host explained it's actually a D&D. The DM is a kid in the party who has hardly said a word over not host. Not host is a guy. Okay. I think, hey, might as well roll with it, pun intended, and see how this goes. So I say, okay, cool. I'll knock up a character sheet on Roll20 quick. Not host. You mean D20? Me. What? Not host. It's called the D20. The dice. Me. Oh, sorry. No, I said I'm using Roll20, the website, to set up a character sheet. That way you can check it if you want. This starts a whole conversation where I explain the benefits of Roll20, and he keeps saying it's the same as an app on his phone, which I checked out, and it's one of those D&D Google type apps where you can write in a creature or spell and it comes up. Handy, but completely different. Here's where the issue comes up. Me. It's cool I found this post. I was talking to my DM today about wanting to play a Thrycreen rogue at some point, which I just feel would be awesome. Not host, without skipping a beat. Nope, you can't play that. Pick something people know. So I think, okay, new DM, fair play. I can just stick to the player's handbook. So I ask if there's any other books that are cool to use, and ask what other people are playing. Party chat at this point has gone from 8 players to 4. Not host has no idea what comes from which book, which is fine, but he's a Warforged, so I ask for clarification on what the issue is with my race. He says I need to pick something people know, and that a Thrycreen doesn't fit the setting. So I ask for more detail on the setting where a robot from 400 years in the future fits in better from a wild space fairy praying mantis. Fair. Then he said it's not his choice. It's the DM who decides what races we can and can't use. This is when I found out that Not Host wasn't the DM. It was the kid who had only gotten about 2 words in since I joined a party full of adults. Before I can even ask the follow-up question, he starts listing off every race in D&D aside from anything from Spelljammer. I could be an Aasimar, an Aarakocra, a Bugbear, a Yuan-Ti, a Orc, Variant Human, and any of those, plus Dampier. But at this point I realized the rule was, fuck you for pointing out that tag in the looking for group post. So I politely said, I don't feel like I'm right for the group, and I'll end up butting heads with the not host a lot. Then I said, but before I go, just some friendly advice. You're not likely to ever learn anything in a D&D. A player wanted to play the Path of a Giant Barbarian. I've never heard of it, so I looked it up. Sounded awesome, and her character was a little girl with a basket of flowers that goes from 3 feet tall to 10 feet when she rages. It's hilarious. And it also led to some great moments, like an artificer and a paladin fighting their way out through the lobby, and her just diving headfirst through the stained glass window as we reached outside. Or sitting on an assassin 4 times her size and pummeling him. I hadn't heard of Path of the Giant, but I looked it up and immediately loved the idea. Not host. Fine, I'll look it up. Yes, he still hasn't bothered to look. Brief pause. Not host. You can't play this. It's too similar to Warforged. Me. What? In what possible way? Okay, fine. You can play Thrykreen, but I'm going to have to nerf you a little bit. No, you're not. Like I said, I'm leaving. But out of curiosity, what is it you wanted to nerf? Not host. The Chameleon Carapace. 13 plus dex to change your color as an action for advantage on stealth checks. It's too similar to the Warforged integrated protection. +1 AC armor can't be removed against your will. And they also don't need sleep, which is the same as a Warforged. Warforged don't eat, drink, sleep, breathe, are resistant to poison and immune to disease and can't be put to sleep by magic. Thrykreen doesn't need sleep, but does need to chill and can be put to sleep with magic. I wanted to politely explain how big of a dick he was being, and it's worth mentioning that all of this was said to me with an authoritative air of dickishness. I decided it was best to wish the DM good luck at his first time DMing, told him I'm sure he'll do great, and I left. But Christ, that guy. Wow. That would be a thing. Yeah, I wouldn't like that very much. Alright, I'll do one more before I kick off. Oh no. Oh good, this isn't long. DM ruins game and group trying to emulate Critical Role. And this hasn't been done a million times. This was back when CR had just started their second campaign, so 2018 I think it was. The group was the DM, me, and 4 other people. The DM and one of the players were really into Critical Role, to the point the first half hour to hour of every session was just doing them talking about Critical Role. Eventually, the DM starts introducing characters from the series, starts telling us what we should do, because they did that in Critical Role, and starts trying to copy Matt Mercer's particular DM style to the point I wasn't having fun and I felt like I had no agency and our actions in the game had no point since he'd attempt to retcon things or ignore things to get a particular outcome. Eventually, came to a head where one of the guys dropped out, and that was the push for me to say the same. I loved playing, but I'm not a huge CR fan and have no interest in blanketly copying other people's stories. That's fair. I love CR, but that would be fucking obnoxious to me. The DM reacted badly and went on the tirade about he's playing D&D properly and we were ruining the game for him and that one other player. Tried to tell him that he's ruining the game for all of the players except one, and she was getting clear favoritism because she was going along with it, attempting to recreate scenes from the series. Oh, that's what they were doing? Awful. Bad taste. Bad form, Peter. Even tried to explain that Matt Mercer has his own style. He has years of experience, probably took lessons in acting and improv, which he did, and has a team of people to help with writing, and that is his career. He just accused me of being jealous of Matt Mercer and not knowing what D&D really is. Saw him post in a Discord server not long after saying he was explicitly looking for people who watch and like Critical Role. Hope he found a group of like-minded people to play with. He was a great DM before he decided that Matt Mercer is the only standard of DMing. Oh man, that is a real thing. And weirdly enough, I saw a video specifically about like, don't do this because it's terrible. You're not gonna do it as good as he does because he does it the way he does it. Do it the way you do it. And it might have been Matt Colville who said something like that, because that guy is really smart, and he talks a lot too about this stuff. But like I said, he's an author. Like he writes books and makes stuff like that, and he's got MCDM now. So he's the real deal. You know, I ain't shit. I ain't shit. But yeah, that's terrible. No, you can't copy Matt Mercer. You can definitely take how he interprets the rules of their playing pretend together, but you can't emulate that though. No, no, no. That's not going to work because the players aren't emulating the players from Critical Role. And Matt Mercer is great, but if he sat there talking to a bunch of idiots, or like if I was at his table or some shit, it wouldn't be fun to watch. It would not be fun to watch. He sat at this big narrative scene, and I'd be like, nah, I'm just kidding. But but it's not like Matt Mercer's the only person at that table making the magic happen. He's absolutely not. He is one of many, one of 8 basically, people that at that table who really make it what it is. And you can take his confidence that he has, his style of refereeing the rules that he has, and even his thematic approach to narratives that he specific takes. Fine, do that, but you absolutely have to make it your own, because if you try and copy anything else, it's not gonna work out great. However, copying a movie or a book or video game is, I don't know, I've always found it to be acceptable. I do it all the time. um and one way, this is just all over the place, I'm probably gonna do my best to snip this up. But one way to come up with NPCs and stick to it and remember is, what I've done is I find an actor or a character in a movie or a game or something. I'll get an image of them. I'll just take it from Google or whatever, and then I'll put the NPC name. I'll put the NPC, like their job or what their motive is specifically. What are they doing right now, basically, when the players approach them? Are they a shopkeeper? Are they in the middle of doing something? So I go through that stuff. But to remember the NPCs, I'll take an actor and I'll put their photo there, and then I'll remember how that actor, actress, how that character was, and try to emulate that character. And then that really helps if I have a scene, say, which I have had, like 5 different NPCs sort of conversing with each other while the players sent their familiar in to eavesdrop and stuff. So I had to, like, I was not expecting that. Like they did this big, all right, and then they left, and then they threw his mouse in there or something, and yeah, I had to kind of impromptu come up with a conversation between 5 individuals, so that the players could kind of, to reward the players for doing that. So I just kind of did that, and thankfully, in the world I had at the time, which I might actually just copy paste for this new dice system. But at the time, I did have these people built and fleshed out. I had pictures of them. I had names. I had their characters in the movie or video game that I pulled them out of. So they all had individual, like, little voices, little accents. I had a face for every one of them, which helped with the voice and helped with the accent. So if you're struggling with how to do NPCs, that is a great way to really embody a different person that the players, I'm sorry, not the players, that the characters are interacting with, right? Sometimes I will admit, I when it comes to role playing a shopkeeper or someone randomly, I kind of just freeze up because I am not an improv genius, nor very experienced with improv, you know what I mean? So I just play D&D, and I play pretend, and I play pretend in my way, and I'm told that I don't do it too badly, which is neat. So that's pretty much it for that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, 15 minutes ago I said I was going to wrap this up. So I'm from Wisconsin. That is what we call a Wisconsin goodbye. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up then, and I will try and do this again later. I'll snap this up, try to make some shorts. That'd be cool. Yeah, that's